I want to know, let you guys know, and people, they, them, all our folks, that I love you, and thank you for bearing patience with me when I first got out after spending nearly half of my life. I went in there at 18, spent 18 years. I spent half of my fucking life in prison. And I still carry a lot of freaking trauma, but I carry all the hurt and all the pain and all the injustice of my boys and my people in my heart, and I dedicate it to this work, and I hope that you commit to it as well, and continue committed to it as well, so we can create a better tomorrow for all of us. So, thank you, and Courtney.
Love you, Henry. Thank you, and love all of you. Thank you for coming today. I'm going to keep this short. My name's Courtney. I'm an organizer with Decarcerate Sac. And speaking of land of the free, which we know it ain't, we wanted to do a land acknowledgement to really ground ourselves in the fact that we are currently standing on stolen, unceded Nisenan land. We also want to acknowledge the Southern Maidun people to the north, the Valley and Plains Miwok peoples to the south of the American River, and we would also like to honor the Patwan Wintun peoples to the west of the Sacramento River. We recognize what history brought us all here today and how that violence continues to live on. And this is not a memorializing or a historical reference. Colonization, as we know, is a current and ongoing process that people continue to resist today. We acknowledge that this very land was taken through genocide with no permission, compensation, or regard for the lives or ways of the original people. We acknowledge that we live, love, work, and organize on land the Nisenan people never ceded. We ask that you celebrate the resilient and ongoing resistance of Indigenous communities, and to ensure that you are educated enough to understand the concrete ways in which you can show your solidarity. And we are here today to connect this violent history to the violent present moment of mass incarceration, and to say that people have never belonged in cages. Especially knowing how our current system of imposed poverty, criminalization, and incarceration grew directly out of systems of enslavement and colonization. We're here to celebrate the people power that we know can overturn these harmful systems, as we've seen by stopping together a jail expansion project we were told was going to happen no matter what. We did that 3 times together. And we got Nav Gill fired. So we need land back, we need decarceration, and we need fully resourced, healthy, safe, and actually free communities, and we can make that happen. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm going to take this off because it feels more natural. Hi, can you hear me? Yes. Yeah. Great. Oh my gosh. You all look so beautiful. Before I pass it off to the amazing JL and we get to listen to a panel of incredible organizers. I'm so excited. I'm just gonna tell you all a little bit about, share. Can you hear me?
Yes, come on, Liz.
Okay. Let's all take a breath. So, 2 years ago, on a warm June evening, Friday evening, in a Sacramento living room, 11 people
We love you, Liz.
I'm gonna be quick. 11 people rallied because we heard that they were trying to expand the RCCC jail. And because, God, why do I always cry? It's because it's just so much love. We found out that, this jail expansion was in process. And we were not gonna let that happen. Tiffany was there. So many of you were there, and you all helped build from there for the last 2 years. We stopped 2 separate jail expansion projects, y'all.
and that was because of you. Can y'all like raise your hand or make a movement if you ever emailed a supervisor? If you ever called in to a Board of Supervisors meeting, bless you. We made this happen. We stopped the RCCC $89 million expansion. They had already spent $8 million designing that project, y'all.
Whoa.
You're spending more now.
And after that, we already knew they were planning on building a mental health jail, a new building next to the main jail downtown. We were not going to let that happen. We stopped on March 10th, y'all, just a few months ago. We stopped a new fucking jail building from being built in downtown Sacramento. All of y'all did that. We did that. Okay, we did so much more, and we're continuing to do so much more, but before I keep crying, I'm gonna pass it off to JL, and so we can hear from Tiffany, and Nia, and JL,
So I can cry, right?
so that you can cry next.
Okay.
Love y'all so much. Here's JL, our new, wait, our new pretrial justice organizer, y'all, our first paid organizer.
I seen that little swift I tried. Okay, so I prepared some little cue cards here, so don't laugh at me. Okay, welcome all, and thank you for choosing to be here with us today. I mean, you had a choice. I'd like to first give you a little info about myself as Decarcerate Sac's first pretrial justice organizer, as Liz just stated. I have always wanted to get into this work. I didn't know how. And 2 years ago, or a little over 2 years ago, my husband got incarcerated, and it just built this fire in me that keeps burning. And now I have this relationship with other people on the inside who I want to help, and thank goodness for Decarcerate Sacramento and all of you here today. I'm able to do that. I am a mother of 4, and 2 of them are here somewhere, but they need you, and we all do. And I just want to thank everybody for doing everything that you guys do. Nothing is too small or too large. I do appreciate it. Okay, so enough about me. Let me introduce 2 phenomenal women who are an inspiration to us all. We have Nia and we have Tiffany. So if we can have them come on up here. Woo! Okay. So good. Okay. So let's start off first with Nia. If you could just introduce yourself and tell us about your work and what inspires you.
I was just gonna yell at y'all, but I can project. Let me come over here. Hi y'all. My name is Nia Moreweather. Pronouns are she, her, and hers. And I work for Youth Forward, a local nonprofit here in Sacramento that focuses on making sure that we've got the right advocacy and policy strategies that are going to get our marginalized youth the most resources. Why? Marginalized youth don't have enough resources. I'll just start with saying that. But I am here today because of some of the larger criminal justice and racial equity work that my organization supports. And I'm just, really happy to be here with y'all, Sacramento native and connected to Decarcerate Sac since the beginning. So very excited to be here with y'all.
Okay, Tiffany.
Hey y'all, I feel hella emotional now too, thanks Liz. Try not to cry myself. So I'm a lawyer, as well as an organizer, one of the co-founding members of Decarcerate Sacramento, and I remember that Friday afternoon, and it's worth the tears, y'all. In that room, we built power that fundamentally changed Sacramento County.
Woo! Woo!
And I showed up in that room excited for the energy, but also very much aware of what we were facing. You would ask any of the board of supervisors, and they had never visited the jail. They didn't know what it was. They didn't know what they were investing $89 million into. And the coalition members of the coalition that was to be built changed that. You guys changed that. Now I forgot what I was supposed to do. Introduce myself, right? So I work for Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights. We're based in San Francisco Bay Area, but because they made the mistake or had the honor of hiring me, we also serve Sacramento. It is a good thing. And, you know, part of my job is to recognize that the legal system is corrupt. The legal system is designed to preserve racial capitalism that harms our people. And so, because I'm a nerd at heart and I enjoy reading and writing and all the fancy things that come with being a lawyer, I use my knowledge to find ways to use the legal system to reduce harm. And especially the harm that impacts my Black and brown communities here in Sacramento.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Okay. So this past year has been heavy and traumatic, particularly for those incarcerated and their loved ones. I'd like to ask what has been some of the challenges and opportunities of organizing for decarceration in the context. So before I ask them, I just want to say that for me, this year has definitely been traumatic for myself and my family. Having a loved one being incarcerated, period, is traumatic. But it proved to be even harder during this pandemic. Not going to court, not knowing if he would end up severely sick from COVID and never coming home due to such a lax healthcare system on the inside. The challenge for me is not being able to help everyone, but I know it's coming. I know it's coming, and it's because of all of you that are here today. And even the ones that couldn't make it today, it's because of you guys that I know that we're going to build a bridge and we're going to cross it. So yeah, so if you want to go?
I'll take.
All right, Miss Mia.
All right, so the challenges that last year presented all of us. Well, there was a large loss of life last year. I want to start by saying that, and I want to honor the people that we may have lost last year, whether that was to the pandemic, whether that was to police brutality and violence, whether that was to the anti-Asian hate crimes that we saw last year, and the continuing effects that we see of white supremacy culture in this nation. So I just wanted to start by saying that. Wow. I think the challenge that I had last year was seeing how deeply white supremacy culture is rooted in the way that our local government decides to interact with its populace. As an organizer here in this city, I have to try and cultivate a sense of patience. It is very difficult. The problem that I find myself having is knowing that it would appear that our local government doesn't care about us, right? And having to be in the same room with people fighting this, not wanting to crawl across the table and do some more damage. But I think the thing that people have to try and remember is white supremacy culture is something that can be resisted. We have choices. As Henry so eloquently put at the beginning of this opening, we need to fight. We need to do this together. One of the ways that we do that is we resist the sense of urgency that white supremacy culture places on us. If you were an organizer last year, I know that you got looped into some stupid ass meeting about some stupid ass funding that our stupid asses were never gonna see.
to be perfectly frank. Like I said, these people don't care. They've never cared. So when I got called to be a part of a Measure A meeting, when I got called in about the CARES Act funding, I couldn't help but think to myself, why y'all calling me? Because 10 years ago, you weren't calling us. 30 years before that, you weren't calling us. The types of decisions that y'all make reflect that. So I think for me, resisting that sense of urgency to get into that meeting and do some damage and make a partnership. We can wait. We can wait. These people make us wait. They make us wait. They make us wait, and I'm tired of it. So my challenge is resisting that white supremacy culture, fighting back, and fighting that sense of urgency that they so frequently place on us. Things don't have to happen on their terms, they're happening on ours. Period.
That was beautifully said. The first thing that came to mind for me when talking about the difficulties of the trauma that we endured is just that. You know, I think what we saw was in so many ways the government choosing profit, choosing harm over us, and in a very, very public way. And when you're already doing this work, uncovering things, it's already really hard. And so when they put all the shit out on the table and you have to digest it while still working, the thing that was most difficult for me was watching the people that I love doing this work be impacted by that. On the flip side of that, the white supremacist culture that we live in is hundreds and hundreds of years old. It is very sophisticated, but one thing that it can't stand against is exposure. And something that the last year showed us, what the last year did for us was expose a lot of truths. And that made some of the work easier. It made it a lot more difficult for people to hide behind some of the structures that they've put in place to lie to us. And so that made it easier for us to be able to talk to each other about the things that we envision for the future and the paths that we can move forward. And it also made it easier to hold people accountable. For example, the mass amount of people that are incarcerated when there was a pandemic coursing through those steel walls. It made it a lot more difficult for them to say, no, we got it under control, when we knew for a fucking fact they did not. And for that reason, even in Sacramento County, a third of the jail was released because they didn't belong there in the first place. If you guys weren't aware, nobody belongs in these jails. You are presumed to be innocent if you're accused of a crime. And instead of upholding that presumption of innocence, our county regularly locks up upwards of 4,000 people. They don't provide them adequate health care. They don't provide them adequate mental health care. There's so many different things that people are deprived of in those walls, and they hide them under steel. And something that this last year showed us is exactly the ways in which that fails, in which they can no longer continue to lie to us. Some other benefits, I think, were that people all over, ourselves included, had to think about accessibility in a new way. Right, so this disability justice movement that has been going on for years, in some spaces silently, we now had to think about, like, how do we make sure that everybody has access to these spaces where these discussions about power structures are happening. And we saw that a lot more people were calling in to the the Board of Supervisors meetings, being able to voice their concerns, which had a tremendous impact. Something that I'm really concerned about is going back to the old ways, so to speak. It doesn't feel that old, it's only a year ago. And so another fight that I'm looking forward to is making sure that we maintain that disability justice lens to make sure that all of us have access to the advocacy that we are pushing forward.
So, my question number 3, I lost it. So, I have to pull it up on my phone. Don't judge me, okay? What does a community, society, or county have to look like to actually keep people out of jail? And so I did write this long thing, but now I got to go off the top of my head because I don't remember. But I would say just recognizing the injustice of everything that is happening to us, building our own jobs, mental health system, making sure that grants and money that the county is getting is actually going towards our community. Taking care of the homeless, because a lot of these homeless folks are veterans and people that serve their countries. And then the most important folks are the youth, because what they say, the youth is our future. So that is what a good community looks like to me. That, not having anybody police us, having our community come together as one. That's what we need. And I will pass it on over to Miss Nia. Heard, respected, and agreed. The youth are our future. I'm going to be descriptive when I answer this question. I see a community that has clean air. I see a community that has fresh water and has enough water for everyone who lives in the community. I see youth playing safely in the streets if they so choose. I see libraries, schools, after-school programs that are properly funded and are prioritized as being properly funded. I see a local government running the city that shares power with its community, or perhaps just decentralizes, girl. We don't need a central form of government. Obviously, there are no jails in this community. We have resources and mentors for those who are struggling. We don't have any homeless. We don't have any, I'm getting emotional, y'all. I'm seeing this vision. I love y'all too. Our people are happy.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about where the next meal is going to come from. There's healthy food. This is a vision that I think can come true if we all continue to work together. I think something else that this community will have is, and this is a more specific thing, just Black economic liberation. I think a lot of the resistance that we see sometimes in changing the way that we spend funding in our city is this weird nervousness that comes from white supremacists that like they're not going to be the ones in power anymore, and if we fund Black communities that like Black supremacy is going to rise up. I don't know what that's about. But I do think, bullshit, exactly. But I think that Black economic liberation is a key piece in making this vision come true. Black communities are so severely impacted here, and our Black youth are so severely impacted in Sacramento. 40% of the youth inside of our YDF are Black youth. And so I think that finding a way to liberate our Black economics here in Sacramento would go a far way. If we're going to create healthy Black communities, that's going to be a healthy community for everyone. Yeah, that's what I got.
That's hard to follow. I have that vision too, what she said. You know, I think part of the question was, you know, what are the barriers in our current community to meeting Nia's vision where all of our needs are met? And the first